As they depart, they spot Manon approaching on a Braxos. She is unconscious and tumbles into the sea. As Elide and Lorcan continue their disguise as traveling performers, Lorcan's swordplay draws far more attention than Elide's fortune-telling. The two of them begin to acknowledge their growing attraction to each other. One night, their camp is attacked by demons searching for Elide. During the fight, the creatures reveal her true name to Lorcan, but he deceives them, insisting she isn't there. After the battle, Lorcan confronts Elide, and they exchange truths about their pasts, deepening their understanding of one another. Meanwhile, Manon wakes aboard a ship to find Ailen watching over her. Ailen warns her against trying to escape or harm anyone. Days later, when Manon wakes again, Dorian is at her side. She recounts how she was injured and pleads with him to find her 13. Elsewhere, Elide and Lorcan visit several taverns in search of news about Ailen. Some of their fellow performers betray them, but Lorcan hears the ambush approaching. They flee by boat, though Lorcan kills the captain in the process, infuriating Elide. Something about the situation unsettles him, leading him to examine the amulet Ailen had given him. When he realizes it's a fake, he roars in frustration and changes their course toward Ailen, the best lead they have on Ailen's location. Ailen wakes engulfed in flames, and Rowan has to pull her back to reality, fearing Mala has possessed her again. Once reassured that she is herself, they share another intimate moment. Late one night, Dorian visits Manon's cabin. She wants him to trust her enough to remove her chains, and she wants him as well. He refuses both. The next day, Dorian asks Ailen to unchain Manon and allow her to move freely on the ship. When they go below deck to release her, they discover an imposter, one of Erewhon's minions, who has come for Manon. He exposes her true identity as a Crochan queen. Before he can act further, Dorian kills him. Manon rushes to the deck upon hearing the sound of demons landing. The creatures are attacking the other pirate ships. During the battle, one of them tells Ailen that Erewhon knows she possesses a word key. Afterward, Gavriel reveals the truth about his past. He left Aedion and his mother, not because he wanted to, but because she had asked him to. As the group continues their journey, they focus on recovering from the battle. Later, a comment from Fenris triggers a memory in Ailen. She asks Manon if some witches have the ability to see the future. Manon confirms that certain ancient witches act as oracles. Suddenly, Ailen recalls something Baba Yellowlegs once told her before she killed her some time ago. Words she only now understands. The realization hits her so hard that she runs off, locks herself in the bathroom, and vomits repeatedly. Rowan, concerned, checks on her. Ailen, still shaken, asks him to bring Lysandra. Meanwhile, Lorcan and Elide stop to gather supplies. They split up to handle different tasks, but while alone, Elide is cornered by her uncle, Vernon. Vernon traps Elide in a box, intending to transport her back to Morath. Desperate, she grabs his knife, preparing to take her own life rather than be taken. Before she can, Lorcan intervenes, helping her fight their way free. They escape back to their ship and continue their journey. During a private moment, Rowan asks if she is pregnant, but Ailen assures him she's not. That wasn't why she ran to the bathroom that night. With only a day or two left to travel on foot before reaching the marshes, Lorcan and Elide also approach the area. As they grow closer, they share a kiss. However, Lorcan suddenly stiffens and warns that they need to run. An army of demons is closing in. Meanwhile, Manon notices Ailen's necklace, which bears the eye of Elena, and reveals that it holds a different meaning for witches. She recounts the history of the Crochan Wars and the curse placed upon witches. Gavriel and Fenris privately warn Rowan that Ailen and Manon's meeting may not have been coincidence. Some unknown force could have orchestrated it. They also inform him that Maeve has replaced him with Cameron, a brutal male Rowan once failed to train. Tensions rise as Aedion questions Ailen's recent displays of power and her failure to consult him and the others. Rowan insists they need to strategize, prompting the Fey males to begin planning. However, Ailen refuses to wait. Determined to strike first, she moves ahead of the group. When Lorcan and Elide arrive, Lorcan immediately senses the overwhelming power radiating from Ailen. He casts a magical shield over himself, and Elide as they watch Ailen unleash her power, effortlessly obliterating the approaching demons. Lorcan is left stunned by the sheer force of her magic. Suddenly, Gavriel, in his lion form, and Fenris, in his white wolf form, launch an attack on Lorcan. Acting on instinct, Elide jumps between them, and Fenris accidentally bites her arm. Gavriel and Fenris can heal her, but only if Lorcan lowers his shield. However, due to their blood oath with Maeve, Gavriel and Fenris are unable to stop themselves from trying to kill Lorcan. Eventually, Lorcan drops the shield. Rowan warns them that continuing to fight would be an act of war against Ailen, and because Lorcan's death would impact Maeve, they all comply and back down. With the immediate danger over, Elide gives Ailen the stone she received from Kaltain. Ailen thanks Lorcan for bringing Elide to her, and officially welcomes Manon into her court. Ailen opens the long-awaited chest, only to find that the lock is missing. Instead, the chest contains ancient mirrors engraved with the eye of Elena. Manon explains the significance of witch mirrors and their connection to the witch towers, which serve as powerful weapons capable of mass destruction. Exhausted, the Fae males carry the mirror as they make their way back to the coast. However, when they arrive, they find an ominous sight. Melisandre's fleet of 100 ships waiting for them. Soldiers have already reached the shore, and another battle looms ahead. As the group braces for a confrontation, Ailen shocks everyone by confidently striding toward them. The leader of the opposing troops is Ansel of Briarcliff, a figure from Ailen's past whom she met years ago in the desert. Ansel has arrived with ships and warriors at Ailen's request, repaying the life debt she owes her. Her army from the wastes has already defeated Melisandre's forces and delivered them to Ailen. With this unexpected victory, the group solidifies their next move. Setting sail north the following day to defend Terrace and Ansel reveals a shocking truth. It wasn't Erewhon who set the fires to frame Ailen, it was Maeve. Rowan reflects on the alliances Ailen has built, admiring the way she continues to surprise him. That night, as the crew rests, Dorian visits Manon in her room, while Lorcan and Elide have a quiet conversation from their hammocks on deck. However, their respite is short-lived. Another fleet approaches. It belongs to Maeve. The group anticipates that she will wait until daylight to publicly demand Ailen's surrender. Once Ailen falls asleep, Rowan secretly flies to several of Maeve's ships, seeking out his cousins aboard. He makes a request of them, and though they do not promise anything, they agree to consider it. Meanwhile, Dorian takes Ailen and Manon below deck to examine the ancient mirror. He believes that Diana's riddle suggests they can use it to see the future, find a way to defeat Maeve, and wield the word keys. As Ailen and Manon clasp hands and press them against the mirror, they vanish. Back above deck, Dion is furious at Ailen's sudden disappearance, but Rowan insists they must continue preparing for battle. When Maeve's messengers arrive to demand their surrender, Rowan simply responds that the Queen is not aboard to answer. Instead, he requests safe passage for both fleets. Maeve's answer is swift, a storm of arrows. Meanwhile, Ailen and Manon find themselves transported into the past, witnessing a moment between Gavin and Elena. They watch as Elena uses the stone embedded in the eye of Elena, realizing it is the lock. Elena had once used this lock to imprison Erewhon beneath the mountain, distracting him while Gavin fought. Now wounded, she realizes the lock can only be used once. Erewhon's minions taunt her, mocking her for using the blue stone, a small witch mirror, to trap him. They reveal that the stone was never meant for this purpose. Instead, it was meant to unite the word keys and send all of them back to their world. Desperate, Elena offers anything to undo her mistake, praying that someone stronger will one day use the stone correctly and end this war once and for all. The demons turn to Gavin and declare that Mala's bloodline must pay the price once again, using Mala's gifts to forge the lock anew. This time, led by Elena. To permanently seal the lock and send the beings from other worlds back, the chosen ones must sacrifice every drop of their life force. Gavin, however, only hears Elena's words, not the demons. He questions what bargain she has made, but she merely tells him the price will be paid in the future. Neemia, the princess of Aelware, then steps forward, approaching the chest where Elena stands. She believes she is the one meant to make the sacrifice to save them. However, Elena corrects her. It is not Nehemia who must pay the price. It must be two people from Mala's bloodline, Dorian and Ailen. She instructs Nehemia to go north, where their bloodlines will one day converge. Elena insists that this is necessary, but the cost will be her own life. While Ailen remains absent, the battle at sea rages on. Lysandra, having shifted into a modified sea dragon form, targets the ships Rowan had secretly marked. As the fighting intensifies, a surprising turn of events unfolds. Some of Maeve's ships bear silver whitethorn flags, Rowan's family crest. These ships turn against Maeve's fleet, opening fire. Seizing the moment, Rowan commands his fleet to attack with full force. Meanwhile, Lorcan realizes that Maeve is not aboard her ships. Instead, she is on shore, near the very spot where he had left Elide, guarded by only a few men. As Ailen and Manon continue their vision, they witness the aftermath of Elena's decision. They see her confrontation with her father over her actions, her choice to live as a mortal with Gavin, and Brannon's efforts to forge and conceal the 3 word keys. Brannon carves word marks into a hidden chamber, securing the final word key inside Mala's temple before descending into an eternal fiery abyss. The last Crookshank Queen aids him in his task. Elena appears before Ailen, apologizing. She reveals the cruel truth. Ailen must now bear the cost of Elena's mistakes. Ailen realizes that when she should have died years ago, Elena intervened to save her, ensuring she would live long enough to fulfill her destiny. Though Ailen had been strong enough to survive on her own, Elena had refused to let her die yet. Instead, she revived her and awakened the nearest adult, Arobin Hamel, to rescue her. Elena's sacrifice cost her soul, condemning her to never reunite with her husband or children in the afterlife. When Ailen asks why, Elena explains that she wanted her to grow strong, experience love, and meet the man who had unknowingly been waiting for her in Wendlin. With the mirror's power nearly depleted, Eleanor gives them final instructions and promises to be with them until the very end. Ailen and Manon are thrust back into reality, landing near Maeve, who has Elide restrained on her knees. Despite Rowan's cousins assisting, the battle remains brutal. Manon's 13, led by Abrexos, arrive and provide much-needed reinforcements. But Maeve reveals that she orchestrated every recent challenge Ailen faced to drain her magic. Ailen retaliates with an explosive burst of fire, engaging Maeve in combat. Meanwhile, Lorcan seizes the opportunity to eliminate the guards and free Elide. He urges her to flee, but Elide refuses, unwilling to be a coward. Maeve's darkness lashes at Ailen, and only because Ailen's magic is nearly gone does Maeve stand a chance. As Maeve gains the upper hand, Elide desperately pleads with Manon to help Ailen. Fenris and Gavriel arrive, but Ailen's magic is completely spent. Maeve tells Manon she is free to leave if she chooses not to interfere. Manon agrees. Gavriel then pleads with Maeve to spare Ailen and allow them to return home, but Maeve rebukes him for failing to kill Lorcan as ordered. When Gavriel offers his life in exchange for Ailen's, Maeve refuses, severing his blood bond and stripping him of his title. Maeve reveals that she always knew Ailen would lead her to all 3 word keys. She had foreseen everything, including Ailen's mate, Rowan, and the powerful children they would have, strong enough to rule the world. She had planned to make Ailen surrender the wired keys once she was strong enough to claim them all. To ensure this, Maeve manipulated Rowan's past, giving him his first mate, ensuring she became pregnant, and then orchestrating her death. She also made certain that Rowan and Ailen's paths would cross when Ailen came of age, knowing that with the right manipulation, Ailen would eventually give her whatever she wanted. However, Maeve admits she was surprised that when Rowan and Ailen met, they were both so broken that they didn't recognize each other as mates for a long time. Ailen has known the truth since the battle with Manon at the temple months ago, but kept it from Rowan. Maeve taunts Ailen, saying she could have had 1,000 years with Rowan, and is only about 5 years away from settling permanently into her Fae form. She then calls for Karen, and demands that Ailen come willingly, threatening to take Elid as well if she resists. Through the blood bond, Maeve orders Lorcan and Fenris to remain completely still. Ailen surrenders, but secretly gives Elide messages to deliver to Adian and Rowan. Maeve forces Ailen to kneel before her and strip off her shirt, ordering Karen to give her 10 lashes and demanding that she count each one. Ailen refuses. Maeve restarts the count repeatedly, sir, but when they hear others approaching, they halt the beating and prepare to leave. Ailen is locked inside a metal box, shackled with iron chains, and an iron mask is placed over her face. As she passes Manon, she discreetly slips the word keys into her pocket. Manon realizes that she must take the keys and lead as far away from Maeve as possible. Maeve's soldiers carry Ailen's box toward her ship, commanding Fenris to follow, while releasing Lorcan from the blood bond and stripping him of all his titles and possessions. Maeve's ship vanishes. Rowan arrives furious and holds a knife to Lorcan's throat, demanding to know where Ailen is. Enraged that Lorcan betrayed their location to Maeve, he is ready to strike, but Elided intervenes, revealing that Ailen is his mate. She tells him about Ailen's whipping and imprisonment in the iron box, leaving the group stunned. When they realize Lysandra knew, they are angry, but Elid explains that Ailen had confided in her while sick on the ship. Ailen had shared her plan to seal the wired keys in the gate and banish Erewhon forever. She also asked Lysandra to shift into her form after she died, marry Rowan, and bear heirs with Aedion to preserve the Oshriva bloodline. The weight of Ailen's sacrifice settles over them, but Rowan refuses to accept it. Elide turns to Lorcan, telling him she hopes he lives with guilt for the rest of his life. Then without another word, she leaves with Manon and the 13. As they travel, Manon declares that she and the Crochans owe Ailen a life debt and must rise above their ancestors' mistakes. She intends to rally the Crochan army to fight for Ailen. Manon then reveals that she has 2 weird keys, and tells Dorian that Eleanor said he has the blood to wield them. Understanding the weight of this responsibility, Dorian takes possession of the keys. Meanwhile, Rowan had always known deep down that Ailen was his mate. Hearing the truth does nothing to ease his pain. He believes she expected them to make the right choices and use the army she gathered to win the war, but he refuses to accept her sacrifice. Through their mating bond, he sends Ailen a message, urging her to fight. Then, many boats and another unfamiliar longboat appear. A man Rowan doesn't recognize steps out. It is Galan Ashriver, the crowned prince of Wendlin. Galan presents a letter Ailen wrote to him long ago, requesting his aid as repayment for when she fought for him at Mistwood. She had even provided coordinates to this exact location. He assures them that his people have never forgotten Evelyn Ashriver or Terrason. Then, hundreds of warriors in white arrive, including Ilias, the silent assassins of the Red Desert. They have come to fulfill their life debt to Ailen. She has called in many old favors to assemble this army, Lysandra steps forward, assuming Ailen's identity for their allies, and announces that the forces will march north to Terrazin. Meanwhile, Gavriel, Lorcan, and Elide join Rowan's quest to find Ailen, believing that Fenris may leave behind clues to her whereabouts. Dorian heads north with the witches to search for the third key, but Rowan remains focused on one goal, finding Ailen